Hello, beautiful Aquarians. These are going to be your messages for the next little while, for the upcoming month of November and probably a little bit past November. Let me tune in and see what I want to start with. The feeling I have is, which is an interesting thing because I've had this feeling in a different reading, so you might want to resonate. If you resonate with another reading, check that one out and see if it comes across the same way. But essentially what I'm feeling is I am at a point of either needing to choose or being ready to choose, except I am not making that choice just yet. So to me, it symbolizes a time of change. Change of any kind, good change, most likely. That's what I would hope. But there seems to be a bit of a standstill, and it almost feels to me like whatever this change is, it needs to wait for something else to happen. It's almost like this change is dependent on something else happening at the same time, almost as if to give you the green light or the go-ahead to start something new or start something fresh. The feeling I have is either someone approves something for you that then it allows you to start this new thing, or something releases you, or you release something that then allows all your energy to be put forth into something that you will be starting. I'm not getting anything specific at this time because I feel that could be plucked into many situations, but the feeling I get around is a lot about work. So for many of you, this is going to be either work situated or something that is other than romantic and other than relationships. This feels to me like it's something functional, like it's something you're either desiring to do or you need to do. Starting a new business, starting a new career, starting a new career path, committing yourself to something different. But in order for you to commit yourself to something different, you have to let go of another commitment or a commitment you already have. So in this case, it could be relationship as well. Is there anything else? I'm not picking up any health here. So that is what I get first and foremost. I don't feel it's time to decide yet. I think I've mentioned that. However, I don't feel it's going to be too long. And for many of you, or for some of you at least, the deciding factor is going to happen in December. And as I'm saying this, I'm getting this headache. It's kind of a weird headache that's in one spot. It's on the left side of the top of my head. And it's kind of like how could I describe it? It's sharp. I mean, I don't feel a lot of pain. I just feel this sharpness. And whatever this is that I feel you are deciding is giving you perhaps a headache, or it's going to give you a bit of a headache. Not necessarily because it's something bad, but because you will need to figure out how to go about it. And the going about it will put you in a position where you will need to move past your comfort zones. So I'll pull out the first card that fits in with this, and that's pushing the envelope. There is no question that there is something happening, a new beginning, that will affect your life in a positive way, but it requires you to step out of your comfort zone, whether it be a comfort zone within a relationship, the way you handle relationships, or comfort zone within your work, what you do for a living, or how you express your creativity work-wise. There's a definite feeling of you needing to, I want to say, step up to the plate, number one, and number two, move past your own limitations. 1 and 7, that comes to number 8. That's a very strong number to me. To me, it feels, whatever this is for most of you, it feels very solid, very concrete. It feels like something I can touch. So I feel it would be more on a physical level, a job, career, a relationship, something of that sort. Yes, of course, it would be emotions as well and thoughts, but the manifestation of it seems to be on a physical level. So 8, to get the 8 number with this, to me, it's a very supportive number. There's just a lot of stability with it. 1, as we know, is new beginnings. And the 7, to me, the 7 represents enlightenment. So whether you will achieve enlightenment as a result of this new beginning because you will allow yourself to move past your fears, or as a result of an enlightenment, you move past your fears. Whichever one comes first, I don't know. That will depend on each individual. There is an indication here that you're moving something, you're leaving something behind. And whatever the leaving behind is, it's something that you are projecting. So, do I want to go more into that? No, I think I'm going to leave it for now and see how it comes across later. Pushing the envelope, this pushing the envelope comes together with a card called the Smoky Mirror. So Smoky Mirror is about illusions. So it is about you moving past your illusions. It's about you pushing past your illusions. What are your illusions? Generally, when I talk about illusions in this context, it's about your fears. The things that we are afraid to try or do because we think we're this, or that, or not this, or that. So Smoky Mirror and pushing the envelope, that's a huge indication that there is a need for you to face something. I also feel whatever it is that you are going to face. In the past, it felt out of reach, as if to say, you've tried it before, it didn't work. Yet this time around, you're going to try it, but you're going to try it differently, and it'll begin to work for you. I'm hoping this is going to make sense. It's a little bit cryptic, but I feel there's a message in there for some of you, even if it's just one person. Hugely important. So what is the card that represents the overall feeling that I get? Interesting, because the card Nurture came up. Nurture, very self-explanatory. It's about you nurturing others, you're nurturing yourself. But the way I feel this card, first of all, there's a lot of red in it, as you'll notice. Red to me symbolizes safety and security. So a lot of it will have to do with safety and security. And the nurture component is about how you take care of you in terms of what is important to you. When I tune into this card, I want to say, don't feel bad for taking care of what's really important to you. Don't feel bad for taking care of what's really important to you. And it feels to me like the word obligation comes in. So perhaps you feel obligated to something or someone, and as a result, you haven't attended to your own needs. And we know what happens when we don't attend to our own needs. Eventually, when it happens for too long, we end up becoming, well, not very fulfilled, because needs are not fulfilled, and need is there to be fulfilled one way or another. This also feels to me like, in order for you to take care of what's important to you, you have to let go of other people's expectations. Now, why would that be important? Because if you let other people's expectations define you, then you are essentially living life according to what other people expect of you. And if that expectation does not meet your expectation or your need, then we're at crossroads. So this feels very much like either walking away from something, moving away from something, leaving something behind in order to take care of your own needs. On a more mundane level, this is a message to, you can see this is a mother taking care of her child. I also see here, for those of you who are mothers, there's a sense of being almost a little bit overprotective and cautious. So this is not going to be for many of you, but it's coming through very, very strongly. If you're a mother and you have young kids in particular, notice if you are not being overprotective with your young child. And the reason for that is that when you are overprotecting, you are creating a certain story for that child, and eventually that story will get adopted by this child, and it's what the child will follow. So you projecting your own fears, you guys get it. It doesn't help the picture. So this is not for most of you. This is clearly for some of you, but there's someone here that needs to hear this message. Now, why would you be overprotective? Plain and simple, because you're afraid. You're afraid that something might happen. And generally you're afraid of that something might happen because it's of something you've experienced. So if you have not let go of something that you've experienced that was not a pleasant experience, then chances are you are holding on to it because you haven't let it go, and you will end up projecting it. That's just the way it is. So if you're overprotective, take a look at that and see where it comes from. Neither good or bad. Too much of good or bad is good. Too much of anything is not good. It's about balance. So that's what I want to say about this mother and overprotectiveness. What else do I want to say on this? Be careful with what you say to yourself. Your inner child is listening. That's an interesting message. So this is for those of you whose dialogue in the head is one that stems from lack or inner conflict. When we feed ourselves language that represents lack or diminishes who we are, we're essentially validating that to be true. Whatever is true to you will always come into your life in manifested form, because you will never create something that is not true for you. And we hold on to a lot of truths. Some truths we have outgrown, but we haven't let go of yet. So one of your truths may be, for example, with this overprotecting mother, is that if you don't protect your child, then something bad is going to happen. Well, obviously, if you're a mother, you're going to do what's necessary in order to make sure that your child is safe. However, if you believe that unless you overprotect, the child will get hurt, then the child will never learn to fall and get up and recognize it's his or her own strength. So that's one example. Okay, don't be afraid to be afraid. That's an interesting concept. Be okay with being afraid for a little while. Don't be afraid of being afraid. And the moment I'm saying this, I have this thing in my throat. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm supposed to be okay with being afraid? And the answer is yes. Now that's a new concept, isn't it? Now, why would I want to be okay with feeling scared? Because if I'm feeling scared and I'm trying to reject it, it doesn't make me not scared. It just makes me fighting the fact that I'm scared. And that causes conflict. I've never had it said to me quite this way as it's coming across now, but I think it makes sense to me on a logical level. I guess it's like with anything. When we accept certain something, we end the war that we were with it. We end the war that we were at with. So don't be afraid to be afraid. Do it anyway. If you are afraid of your child getting hurt, examine your fears, but then let go of those fears, at least to some extent, so that your child doesn't have to live out the same truth. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the mother thing because I know that's not most of you. So what are we letting go of? Well, it's actually quite brilliant. The Seven of Wands to me symbolizes conflict. Whether it's conflict with someone else or conflict within yourself, it is symbolizing letting go of that conflict. I feel for most of you, it's conflict within yourself, that when you release that, your situation will release. Whatever situation you are in that has you tied and you can't start something new or start something fresh. The wands to me right now, it feels to me right now like other people. So for some of you, this is going to be around work for you. Not that wands represent people, don't misunderstand me. It's just how the message is coming across. I feel like you're trying to defend yourself from other people or around. Yeah, you're trying to defend yourself. Yeah, from other people. From other people? Is that the right way of saying it? So if you've had conflict with others or you have conflict with someone, I feel that you will let go of that conflict. And we can only be in conflict when we are part of the conflict. So the moment you remove yourself from the conflict by understanding it, the conflict is no longer there. You have a different perspective. But I feel some of it is going to be around work. What else do I see with this? You don't have to be right to be understood. I'm not quite sure what that means. I feel it has to do with validation. You don't have to be right to be understood. You don't have to be right to be understood. You don't have to be right to be understood. Okay, then what do I want to be? If I don't want to be right, you want to speak your truth. Okay, so if you are experiencing conflict with somebody else, perhaps you need to have a conversation that expresses your truth rather than trying to prove that you are right. This is going to be with other people. What I'm mentioning right now is with other people. If you have conflict with someone, in order to resolve it, you need to speak your truth rather than trying to speak that you are right, to convey that you are right. Because if you are right, then someone else must be wrong, and that doesn't help the situation. And I believe people accepting something that it's not about right, it's not about right or wrong, it's about expressing your truth, and people have to accept that, or people will accept that, regardless of the fact whether they think it's right or wrong, or you're right or wrong. There's something there about resolving a conflict, but not paying attention to the fact that you are right and therefore you have to say it, but rather, what do I need to convey in order to get myself out of this? What do I need to convey in order to move past it? For some of you, this is a long-standing, unresolved conflict between your parents, you and your parents, or one of your parents, mom or dad. Whatever the conflict is about, if you have been trying to always prove yourself or somehow defend yourself because you've been poked a lot, then I feel it's time for you to speak your truth. Not in a way that is accusatory, but in a way that says, I am, I feel, and therefore. When I was tuning into your energy, the number 10 was shown, which always to me symbolizes completion. When the 10 of Swords showed up, it was a confirmation for me that you are at a point of completing a very important cycle, and that cycle is all around how you think. This person, as you can see, 10 of Swords, doesn't look very pretty, right? His, looks like it might be him, his thoughts are doing him in. But the number 10 suggests you're at the end of whatever that is for you. And this would absolutely feel scary, absolutely feel scary. Now, I'm not saying something bad is going to happen. Don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is, whatever fears you have been holding on to, and it could be to do with this conflict, or you needing to look after yourself or what's important to you. You're coming to a conclusion where you're realizing it's no longer effective for you to ignore your needs. And as a result of that, you are willing to take the necessary steps to make that happen, to take care of yourself. On a mundane level, more mundane level, you might be in a relationship where you are always the one taking care of everybody else. And when it comes time to you, either you not giving yourself the same treatment or you're just too busy taking care of everybody else. And you may have come to a point where now that is your expectation, or that's people's expectation. And as a result of that, you might be at conflict because your own needs are neglected, but you have all these expectations of other people, which means you're obligated. And that's an interesting dynamic, because in order for us to take care of ourselves in this situation, we have to face a certain situation, which means those you have always taken care of, you might have to have a very honest conversation and say, I've been doing this for this long, this is what I need for myself, and this is what I'm going to do in order to get it. For some people, it might feel very scary because there's a potential here to have conflict, and generally people don't like conflict. People generally don't like conflict. Some do, but that's very few. Conflict is not usually easy because it's uncomfortable. It just, right? Particularly if you've been someone who's always taking care of others and not you, chances are you haven't put yourself first. And when you come to the realization that you need to start putting yourself first, you begin to have this conflict. Well, if I haven't put myself first up until now, and I'm going to do that now, what's going to happen? What are they going to say to me, for example? So in many ways, this is about you taking charge of your own life by realizing that you are the most important person in your life. Everything else and everyone else comes second, including being a mother. If you're a mother that's neglecting her own needs, your child will not get the best of you, not a chance, because you will not have that to give. In order to give your child something, you have to have it. If you don't have energy for yourself, you're not going to have enough energy for your child or anybody else. So as a mother, especially as a mother, it is important, critically important, that you take care of yourself, which means for some of you, it will require you to make some adjustments, perhaps to make other people responsible for things that they were not responsible for. Perhaps you have grown children whom you took care of for a long time, and now they have a certain expectation of the things that you do for them. And perhaps it's time to temper those expectations a little bit and perhaps change how things are done. If you were to imagine yourself being your own master, creating your own life and being the director that's in charge, imagine what that would look like in terms of what you would do differently. So imagine being in charge in a particular situation of your life, and you're dealing with a particular situation. And in your image, you are a master who is in charge of his or her destiny. How would that person who is in charge take care of this particular problem? This allows you to disconnect from your situation temporarily and see it from the outside. When you see it from the outside, you see a different perspective, you see a greater picture, and therefore different choices begin to appear to you. Balance. It's important to address things that are out of balance. The universe wants you to be balanced. Energies are conspiring in such a way to help you achieve greater balance. But in order for you to achieve greater balance, you have to come into an alignment with who you are, with what your truth is. But if you've been neglecting what your truth is, you're not in alignment. When you look at yourself honestly, what do you see? Do you see a person who's experiencing out of fear, or do you see a person who's experiencing from the space of abundance? Most people are somewhere in between. A lot of people dip a little bit towards the scarcity. It's just human nature, because we're scared of so many things. Remember, we're scared. All these pushing the envelope, smoky mirrors, we're all scared. However, as was mentioned earlier, don't be afraid of being scared. Being scared is okay. Well, it doesn't feel okay, but being scared just says you're in an area where things, it's unfamiliar. It's unfamiliar, right? Doesn't necessarily mean it's anything bad. It just means that it's unfamiliar. Whatever is out of balance in your life over the next 2 or 3 months, and for some of you, 6 months, you will be able to achieve much greater balance within yourself first, which will then manifest into your life in a physical form. Therefore, you will experience much more balance. But to experience much more balance, you first have to be balanced. You have to come to some sort of balance. And balance isn't necessarily 50-50. Balance is different for different people. I will have a different balance than you, whatever your balance is. To me, balance means I go to the gym certain days of the week or certain times of the week. And if I don't, I am out of balance. To you, it might be something else. To you, it could be, I don't know, you go and take paint classes, a few times a month, and that is what gives you balance. So balance doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. But it does mean that you have to create space in order to find this balance or to cultivate this balance. And in order to do that, you have to consider yourself to be important, which means you have to put yourself first. And it doesn't mean that you can't help. Quite on the contrary. Help all you want, but help more from a balanced space. The spider is a beautiful symbol because it reminds you, me, us, to focus on the process. A situation doesn't appear out of the blue. Generally, a situation appears as a result of us being a certain way. I mean, we, after all, attract experiences. And that's not to say that if something bad is happening, bad, and I say bad because in a bigger context, there is no such thing as good or bad. Those are the labels that we give as humans. On a consciousness level, it's all experience. Now, to the human mind, it doesn't make sense that we would want to experience something bad. But to your internal soul, there is no death. There is no disappearing. It's just an experience. Your soul wants to experience everything, even the bad things, because it's all information. It's all consciousness. So this is about process. If you want happiness, for example, decide what happiness means to you. Ask yourself, what does happiness mean to me? Well, you might want to say it means money. No, that's only representation of happiness to you. Money isn't happiness. You have money. People have money and they're not happy. On the other hand, people have little money and they can be happy. So money isn't happiness. Money is just a symbol. Happiness is a feeling. How you arrive at that feeling, well, that's up for discussion and it's all individual. Process. If you want to be happy, decide what happiness is for you and ask yourself, what do I need to do? Who do I have to become in order to be happy? You have to create it. How do you create it? That's up to you. How do you want to create it? That's the beauty of it. How do you want to create it? Most people say, what am I supposed to do? You're not supposed to do anything. You're here to experience. How you experience, that's up to you. Which means stop asking questions to the outside and rather ask yourself, that self within. That's why nurture is so important. Tuning into you in order to hear what's important to you is critical at this point. Because without that, you'll never know. You'll be guessing at best, but you'll never truly know. And chances are, if you're listening to this, is because you're looking at, you're possibly looking at some things and you're looking for information. But at the end of the day, I can give you information, but you have to apply it. I can't magically take it away from you. Nobody can. Nobody can take anything away from me. If I need to make something happen, I need to make that happen. I need to decide, which means I have to own the fact that I am the creator. And as a result of being the creator, I have the ability to create. And we create every single moment of every single day. By the way we think, by what we feel, by what we speak to ourselves and to others, by the thoughts we carry, by the intentions we have. That's all creation. It's all energy. It's all projecting energy. Whatever you put your thought into over and over is what you will multiply again and again. So if you want happiness, as an example, decide what that is and ask yourself, why am I preventing myself from being happy? What is stopping me from being happy? Generally, the only thing that's stopping you is you and me and everybody else. Keep going. You're doing really good. It's hard. It's been hard. For some of you, it's been very hard. Keep going. You're almost there. If you need to take rest, if you need to recuperate, if you need to recharge your batteries, do that. But don't give up. Very, very, very important. If you're going through a change or you're wanting a change, the universe is supporting you in this change. Perhaps it's one of the reasons why you're listening to me with these particular words. I also want to say it's your time to shine, whatever that means to you. The raccoon is an interesting card. It came out in another sign. I'm not sure which one it is. So if you gravitate towards one, notice if that's also the one. Raccoon is generally about hiding. The question you might want to ask yourself, have I been hiding? Most of us are hiding or have been hiding most of our lives to some extent. And if you are hiding, what is it that you're hiding? And why are you hiding it? What would be so terrible about letting it out in the open? Are you too afraid that you might be criticized? Well, if you take importance to what people say, then I guess you should worry. But the problem is people will say many things. You have no control over that. So better idea is to you learning to accept yourself so that when people do criticize you, it doesn't affect you, not nearly as it would otherwise. I also feel here, this message is about coming out of hiding, but not quite being ready yet, which is the feeling I was having at the very beginning of this. But I feel like it's just around the corner, December. For some of you, you will come out of hiding around the month of December, somewhere middle of December. And that could be coming out of the closet, coming out with certain truth, coming out with saying your truth, coming out in showing something about yourself, presenting something of yourself. If you're a healer, for example, letting that notion come out to the surface by starting to say to people, I do healing, as an example, right? And there could be many, many other examples. But there's readiness with this card, but not quite there. Not quite there. Almost, but not quite there. And I think that's all I have for you. I hope this was helpful. Do let me know if this made sense to you by commenting below. I read every single one of your comments. I heart all of them. unless I miss it by mistake. So if I missed a heart and you see a whole bunch of hearts, I haven't ignored you. It's just that I try to do it on my phone and sometimes it doesn't display it all the way. So, but I absolutely love all your comments. Of course, if you want a private session with me, that information is down below. I wish you best of luck in the next few weeks. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of yourself, nurture yourself, and I see you soon. Bye.